Hi, everyone. This meeting is recording.
Ricky.
I think we're just waiting for Jess, I believe.
And I was just texting with her a little bit ago.
Crystal's.
I'm here, TJ.
Yeah, thank you, Crystal. It's already 5:01, so we're just gonna let, if Jess comes on, then Jess can just join us as we're gonna go ahead and start the meeting. So it's 5:01. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and thank you everyone again for adjusting your schedules to accommodate our move of our meeting to the 17th in support of our Kohala Cowboys basketball.
Yay, basketball.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. There's really no old business that we need to cover. So I'm going to just go ahead and move over to new business. And I did have a discussion with Ms. Kostick, and I told her that we had her on the agenda. And the only thing that we really had to share with athletics was really the return of spectators. So I made a comment to Ms. Kostick that I'll just go ahead and share the information to the council here. So if you see on the meeting agenda link, there's a link there for the BIIF return to spectators policy. So what we did here at Kohala, I believe, is that they were allowing spectators to come to the basketball games when we had our girls and boys basketball. And they were allowing 2 spectators per player for girls basketball and 4 spectators for boys basketball. And they also needed to be vaccinated and their name put onto a list to attend the event. So that's pretty much the only update that we had with regards to athletics and having spectators return. I believe that the spectators policy will also apply to our upcoming spring sports that's going to be starting fairly soon. So any questions you guys have with regards to our athletic update and our spectators of the return, our spectators?
And it'll be interesting to see with spring because I haven't looked at any updates, but especially for sports that are outside like baseball, if things will be a little bit different because there was some flexibility based on the venue. So schools could kind of set what their capacity was. So we had, one side of the gym. So that's how we were able to come up with the numbers as far as how many spectators each player could invite based on the capacity in the room that we had in the gym. I know some places could potentially accommodate more and some schools less. So we'll have to kind of wait and see. But our community's been really great about honoring that and logging on, trying to find people on Facebook. I know we've had some issues with the live feeds just because of the Wi-Fi at the gym, but I believe that Mike put some different things in place so that the signal will be solely used for his live stream so that others are not pulling from that same stream, and hopefully things will work out well for Saturday's game.
Or
Do
Friday.
we have a link for Saturday's game? If so, will you send it to me?
Friday's game. I believe it's for this
Friday,
tomorrow.
sorry.
Basketball game is for tomorrow.
Yes, yeah. Fridays. Sorry. Saturday is if all is good in Hilo, right? So Fridays. I'll let you know. I'll let you know if he has one. I thought you already had it, but maybe that was for the last game, Brenda. I thought I saw one online.
Yeah, I asked Miss Kostick a few days ago, and she said that Mike Fraley was working on something having to do with the internet at our gym.
Oh, okay.
It's our gym this time, and
Right.
that she would send me a link. So you sounded so positive. I thought maybe you had something, but never mind.
He had texted us, yeah. He had texted us saying he was trying to work with Parks and Rec to see if we could solidify that signal with potentially a code or something, so it was only accessible for one live feed. Thanks for getting that update, TJ. I'm not sure we invited Miss Caustic since we made this agenda a little bit ago. I may have forgotten to invite her. Perfect.
So being that there's no other questions with regards to our athletic update, let's just go ahead and turn it over to you, Ms. Stafford, for your portion now for the COVID and safety update.
Thank you. And sorry, I don't have a cute slideshow this time. I just have some information to share and some updates to give. So as far as COVID and safety updates, we have not received any information as far as are we going to be able to be a little more lenient on our policies at school. We're still doing our wellness check-ins with everybody. You know, right now that gives us a way to connect with each student as they're checking in for the day, and I think gives everyone kind of a better peace of mind. But we are seeing the numbers at school decrease. So I know families get the broad notifications and our staff as well each week. And so, you know, we were hitting 9 and 8 for a few weeks. For the last 2 weeks, we've been down to 3 within a week's period. So we definitely see the numbers going down. And we did just have a principals meeting today, and we're given the okay for schools who are doing like morning PICO or doing activities outside, assemblies, you know, or some type of activity that's outside. It was approved to resume those again because the numbers are going down. And so definitely all information that's helping us move in the right direction, and we're just keeping our fingers crossed because January was a really rough month. Coming back from winter break, you know, there was a lot of people that didn't come back for weeks. And when we talk about our attendance update, you'll see that we've had many reasons that have affected our attendance in January. But, you know, there were some people who, regardless of the new guidelines where you only had to stay out for 5 days, we had some people, because of the increase in numbers, who were close contacts several times and had to stay home and then potentially got it themselves. And so we definitely see ourselves coming down at the end of all of that. And things are definitely feeling better on campus, and just overall the numbers for the whole island are decreasing as well. So that's encouraging. We're hopeful and waiting for our graduation and end of the year events memo, which I was told today should be coming soon. So graduation committee has been meeting. We're still keeping some safety protocols in place for that. I was told that it will most likely look like similar to last year with a few changes to provide more flexibility at the school level. So because the numbers are going down, that's encouraging for graduation ceremonies this year as well. But as soon as we receive that information, we'll be forwarding it to families. Any questions about that before I go forward? Okay, I'm only seeing a few because of the share. So attendance update. And I'm glad Ross is on here because he had a chance to be in the library one morning when I had many students that were late to school in the library. So as most of you know, and we've put the new attendance policy in our newsletters for the last 2 months, students who arrive to school late after 8 o'clock are taken into the library. We were trying to encourage students to show up on time, develop some better habits. And we had a lot of students that were just skipping out on homeroom, some that were coming at 9:30. They were skipping out on their whole first class. And so we were hoping that by putting a consequence or an additional timepiece in there for people to have to fulfill, that would discourage them, or at least, you know, there'd be a little bit of hustle. I will say it's been enjoyable to see kids hustling to get to school when they know that first bell has rung or that second bell's about ready to go. They're at least making some efforts, walking a little quicker, not on their phones, that type of thing. So I feel overall, habit-wise, this has been better, and it sparked some conversations with families around the importance of being on time for things, building those good habits. So it's also given us a chance, because I'm the one in the library, to have conversations with students about why they're late, what are the potential barriers, what can we do to help. And some have voiced that they're very frustrated by this, and we are having student focus groups. Ross has already met with 9th and 10th grade. He's going to be meeting with 11th and 12th. Attendance and the tardy policy is definitely one of those pieces that students are giving feedback on. So our overall numbers are interesting because they definitely have not gone down. So thanks to Brenda, because she helped me pull some data. We're starting to focus in, the teachers in their data teams are focusing in every other Wednesday now, specifically on attendance data, so we can see how many kids and which kids this is affecting the most. But I had her pull numbers since back in October. And so I asked her to pull any students who had more than 5 absences, or tardies, I mean, and it wasn't all day absences, to pull how many students there were. So the difficulty is all of second quarter, there's holidays each month. So in October, we have fall break. In November, we do have a couple of days off for Thanksgiving and some other holidays. And then December, we only have 13 days of school because of winter break. So we did see in October that we had 46 students that had more than 5 tardies to school. And 10 of those had over 10, which means there was only 16 days of school, and 10 of the students missed more than 10 of those. They were late to school more than 10 of those days. So definitely some high numbers, even with fall break in there. November, we did have more days of school. We had 19 days of school, but we had 74 students that showed up tardy to school during the month of November. And 23 of those had more than 10 tardies. December, there were only 13 days of school, and that number dropped. There were only 28 students that had more than 5 tardies. One thing I can tell you is that there's some students who are right at that 4 or 5 mark that with putting this new policy in place, we're not seeing them late to school at all anymore. So it's getting more fine-tuned down to those kids that we've had a hard time getting them to school, and especially getting them to school on time. But so for January, we jumped way back up to those November months. It was our highest month of days of school. We had 20 days of school in January. 72 kids had more than 5 tardies still. And 32 of those were more than, they had more than 5 days of absences all day. So what we ran into in January is we not only had kids that were absent, we had kids that had a hard time returning. So just socially and emotionally coming back to school after being out for 2 weeks, not only was COVID a factor that was affecting students and making it harder for them to come back, but also just being home for 2 weeks. There was some anxiety that grew over coming back to school. Some of that was around COVID. Some of that was just that social piece. And so we've really had to spend this month, Ms. DeLuz and I have been rearranging schedules and trying to really do what we can to focus, especially with our seniors, on modifying schedules so that students can start focusing in just on those requirements they need for graduation, and start passing some classes because they've missed so much school. It has been really hard for our kids to come back. In the beginning of January, with this new policy, we saw a lot more students hurrying and rushing to get to school. People seemed to be in a good place. And as the COVID numbers went up and the absences increased, kids started finding it more difficult and were coming later and later, and some just missing weeks and weeks of school. So that's a whole other issue that we've been addressing and working with this month. So we're really hoping in February that we'll see a decrease in the number of absences and the number of students that are coming to school tardy. But jumping back up to that 72 number after putting this in place was definitely a bit discouraging. And some are choosing just not to come at all for homeroom again because they're getting here a little bit earlier than they were, but because they're getting pulled into the library, they're not happy. And so we are having some conversations around homeroom is only 15 minutes. And so if you get here late and you pop in for the last 5 minutes, it completely disrupts what the teachers are trying to do, and makes it difficult for you to join in at that ending time. And so we're doing some of those activities in the library, trying to have a space where kids can just listen to quiet music, have some good conversation, and essentially have that homeroom time. Because if kids get there late and then walk the whole way down to the STEM building, they really are only getting 5 minutes of that time that we put in place for specific reasons. Some are saying that students, the social emotional lessons, they may not be up for them every day of the week. So some are having talk story sessions. Some are having students silent read, was something that just came up in a staff meeting recently. And so we are making adjustments based on things that we're hearing and feedback that we're getting from students. And so, we're always trying to fine tune. Brenda's been great with giving out on-time incentives. She's been handing out, we'll pick a day of the week, and she'll choose every 5th student or every 10th student to give them $10 gift cards to Target. And actually this week she was like, when are we doing it? Students are asking when we're doing the on-time incentives. So that's encouraging that they're at least recognizing and excited about, getting rewarded for getting to school on time and putting in that extra effort. We're also hoping, we do have a second bus now. So we do have the ability to pick up a few more students. And we're hoping with some of these students that makes a difference, makes it easier for them to get to school so that they aren't tardy in the mornings. Because we know that the traffic out front is a bit challenging too. And Ross, I hate to put you on the spot, but we've been a little lenient some mornings with a few minutes because the traffic, we've got some interesting numbers, like for that first half hour that traffic starts coming through, and then the last 15 minutes, how much it increases. And Ross is our data guru when it comes to the traffic in the morning, and TJ's out there as well and sees the increase of cars between 7:45 to 8 and how that affects, kids getting to school. We're still using it as a learning opportunity that if traffic's picking up between 7:45 and 8, just leave your house a few minutes earlier and you'll be able to zip in and have enough time to get to class on time. But Ross, do you mind sharing some of those numbers that you were sharing with me?
Yeah, not a problem. Let me just look at my numbers here. So basically, like the last 3 days, I guess Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So between 7:25 and 7:45, one of the days we had 111 vehicles come in, and then between 7:45 and 8 o'clock, we had 104 vehicles come in, and that's a 15-minute time frame. And after 8 o'clock, another 34 more vehicles are coming in. Now, this is a combination between elementary and high school. So what I've been doing is going to the library to count the number of students that are in the library during that time, to kind of gauge who's coming, what vehicles that's coming in late. Lately, it's kind of been split between high school and elementary coming in after 8 o'clock. And one of the things is the numbers are kind of getting bigger in the earlier time frame, but still at the 7:45 to 8 o'clock time frame, we're still getting between 125 and 130 cars still coming in within that 15-minute time frame. With the 2 buses, it hasn't been significantly noticeable yet that there's less cars coming in, because we still have 275 vehicles coming in this week. So I'm hoping by next week there are more elementary students per se catching the bus, so it lessens the elementary crowd coming in. But we won't find out until next week. And then we do have a plan to fly a drone with the permission of Amy and Hannah to be able to shoot a video down so that we can monitor how kids are getting dropped off, where we're getting stuck, and see how we can adjust to make things go more smoothly. So that's pretty much my update.
Thanks, Ross. And yeah, this is all Ross has been really proactive in, recognizing when we're having difficulties, taking feedback from parents as they're driving through, comments that might be made to him out in the community, to continue helping us fine tune this process. And we're fortunate that recently we did get a second bus. We were told at the principal's meeting today that pretty much the rest of the complexes down in Kona, the bus situation is what it is for the most part for the rest of the year. I think just because we have drivers dedicated to up here, they were able to bring a second person back. We're even kind of hopeful we might get a third, but I'm not sure that that'll happen. But we're in a much better place than most schools in Kona right now who are working just a few buses for schools much larger than ours. And we're so thankful to Lulu for staying healthy and all of the extra work that she's doing for us to keep herself healthy, to take care of all three schools. And even with adjusting the routes that were put in place originally over the past few years to get as many students as she can, even with the second bus coming in. Hinano's up in the parking lot every morning. I saw you raised your hand, Hinano. Did you want to share something?
Yes, I just wanted to mention that when Mark and I hear the first bell, and we see a lot of like cars still coming in or they're stuck in traffic, he and I would walk down the to the cars, the high school students, and then we'll just tell them the first bell rang, come out already, go check in, instead of them going all the way to the drop-off area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is huge, because we don't want everybody doing that when we've got 115 cars coming through in a 15-minute period. But at that last bell, when people are kind of sitting and it's a matter of them either spending that whole time just sitting in the line or coming across, and it's not as many kids, it's perfect to give them that option. We do have some that are driving themselves, and we're trying to work with them as well to leave just a little bit earlier and walk just a little bit quicker from the parking lot, because you would be on time if you did that. But it's really great that Hinano and Mark have been giving people a heads up so they can just get out of their cars, and then they're there to help them safely get across and check in on time. Any other observations, even just from a teacher standpoint? In the beginning, it was all exciting. We had a homeroom that had 100% for the first time. And I will say, even kids that are coming late, they're showing up earlier. They're at least in the library. We're able to get them, settled before their first content area class, which is encouraging. I will say I was watching one specific person who was just one that, it was the type of student we were targeting, that they just are going to come when they feel like coming, kind of thing. This particular student's Tardies have dropped to half of what they used to be, which is huge. So we weren't expecting 100% better. We just wanted to see better. And so now we're able to fine tune that down to the ones that we really need to focus on. But yeah, Jess, do you have, from a teacher standpoint, do you have any feedback on, how your homeroom's going?
I'm super fortunate because my homeroom are the leadership kids. So they are mostly there. I think I maybe have 2 or 3 out of like 23 that are regularly tardy or not there. But I will say that my first period class, like my kids, I have never had so many of my kids on time. Like they are booking it from like the STEM building. Like a lot of my kids who have a homeroom down in STEM are booking it up to my classroom and making it before the bell rings, like in the classroom, in their seats before the bell rings. And it's amazing. But then I was also going to say that I think that just with like COVID has done a number, right, on these kids. And even like with just them valuing education, like the type of education that Kohala offers, I think is kind of at not a great place right now. And so as we're looking forward to like academy stuff and what the academy is going to be offering our students, I think that'll kind of reinvigorate the excitement of coming to school for next year. So yeah, like right now I feel like we're in a really tough place, but I feel like we can see the light, like it's coming.
That's so encouraging to hear, because I'm kind of in that same place where I kind of feel bad right now, because I know there have been so many things. It's the COVID fatigue, and it's with all of us. We all thought by now that COVID would not be such a large factor in our daily lives, and it still is. And kids, especially at school, and when you're a senior, any of the grades, but especially seniors and then freshmen coming in, there's like certain things you look forward to at high school that we just have not been able to do to the level that we've been able to in the past. And, you know, it's really hard when it's been going on for this long. One thing we've been talking about in the library this whole month has been a focus around self-efficacy, and that literally your mindset, you create how your day is going to go. You decide what you choose to focus on. There's so much to see in a day. There's so much going on around you at all times, but what are you focusing on? And right now it is really hard for the kids to focus on, you know, the academic opportunities that are in front of them, because they're overwhelmed by the things that they're missing out on, and time's going by and they're about to graduate. It's getting closer to the end. And, you know, there is some sadness there and some pieces of just feeling of loss, I think. And so I think the feedback this year, and even things that adjustments we've had to make with COVID, has all been learning and growth opportunities for us. And like Jess said, I think it's just going to help us next year when we do kind of launch and rebrand the school with all of these things around academy. It's going to make it that much better. So we're really hopeful, and I'm thankful because we have very vocal students that are clear and concise about how they feel about things, and they're okay with sharing it. We've got to fine tune how and the tone sometimes, but they're very clear on how they feel and what they want, and that's a good thing. We've just got to help them smooth out the edges a bit. So yeah, I definitely see for the majority that having something in place with attendance and having these conversations has helped most. We are still struggling with some, but that's okay. And teachers are looking at this data, how it's affecting academics, their attendance is affecting academics, and what we can do to help individual students. So any questions about attendance or anything that anyone on the call has heard from students, or as a parent, things that your feedback that you have that would help us?
That Wednesday after school thing is a little challenging at times. And that's something I gotta work with the elementary parents, because they come early, so they're thinking that the elementary students are being released during the same time as the high school.
Because elementary time changed this semester.
So it's just something I gotta work with the elementary. And then I think that's when we get to the announcements piece, and I can talk about the student focus group stuff.
Okay, sounds good, Ross. Thank you. Any other questions, comments, attendance update? No, thanks. Ms. Stafford, or academic plan?
So I just want to share. Oh, okay. It's saying that I can. Okay, good. It automatically took, I'm just going to override your agenda right now, TJ. I just have to find the right tab. I just want to refresh people's memories on some things that we were working on this year. And, you know, it's it's been tough because we put some things in place to be able to have teachers meeting more and discussing students and data more. And every time it seemed that we were trying to get something started, there would be something that came up, especially around COVID. So especially this semester, you know, with the amount of kids that were out in that first month coming back to school, we were just focusing on catch up on your emails, you know, make plans and assignments, get assignments to kids that aren't here, make sure you're posting things in Google Classroom so kids that are out for extended periods of time can access it. And so, you know, as Jess was talking about, that's another thing we're looking forward to next year. We've refined a few things to start in March as well, so that we can really be more timely in looking at data and putting together plans to support students. Some of the things that we had planned for this year, we were able to make a pretty good leap on, especially just laying more of that foundation for an academy school, which, you know, is a 3 to 4 year process anyway. I am really happy with some of the progress we've still been able to make, but we're still working on that. So right now is the time of year where we're starting to look at what have we done, what's gone well, what needs to change, and what's going to be our focus for next year. So as we're gathering data, looking at our comprehensive needs assessment, looking at student surveys, looking at parent surveys, looking at assessment data. We're trying to figure out what are the areas we really need to focus on. And so one thing that we are finding right now is we really, we need to find ways to encourage students to just always do their best. We put out a lot of surveys, and Ross was in there the other morning when kids are like, we want to be able to share how we're feeling. And we've put out several surveys that a lot of kids don't respond to. So I think our explanation, taking the time to tell kids how things are going to be used, that it's anonymous, what this feedback that they're giving us will mean, what types of changes that could mean, is really important. And I would like to reiterate, same with parents, and anything that you're feeling, hearing from your students, things that you think would help. We really need all of that perceptual data to help us understand, oh, we thought we were doing that, but that's not how people are interpreting it, right? So there was a link in this month's newsletter. Again, if you can just tell everybody to take this quick survey, it's all perceptual data from families on what we're doing, what you think about it, how safe do you feel that your kids are at school, do people respond to you in a timely manner, what do you think about the communication, are you utilizing Infinite Campus to check your kids' grades? Do you think those things in place are working well? Just so we know what we need to do on our end next year moving forward. And we're working on some of that through our branding committee, is just on making sure that, what is our message and are we getting it out there? And is it being interpreted the way that we are, what we're trying to say? Is it actually being interpreted that way? So please encourage people. We're going to send out some reminders and calls, but our parent return rate is always a low percentage, which makes it difficult to have valid data, to have a large base of perceptual data coming back. It makes it difficult to know, is this just a small percentage of people that aren't happy, or is it all the people that are happy? We don't know. If we're getting some clear, valid feedback. And we're finding the same thing with our students with taking assessments. They take a long time, so they start out okay, but then they just kind of give up and start clicking anything. Even our social emotional learning survey data, we sent home some results in January about that. And I've talked with a few kids that their scores were concerning, and they're like, yeah, I was just having a bad day, or yeah, I was just choosing, whatever came up first. And so we're having a hard time getting some really good numbers to show us where our kids are, what the perception is, how many out of all 260 some students, how many of them really are having this difficulty, or how many are doing well, so that we can make adjustments. So, some of the things that we were focusing on is just having some really strong literacy strategies. And Jessica in the ELA department has done a really good job in starting this for us with doing some training with the staff, getting everybody on the same page with how can we do a better job of teaching vocabulary and make it interactive and get kids talking and using new words more often, because that was some pretty clear data that showed we were struggling in that area. Now we need to move it to, okay, let's get some common writing strategies going and some common rubrics that we're using across the board. We have some teams that are going to be meeting at the end of the school year, just as summer starts, to start doing some of this, and being more intentional in incorporating pathway interests, as well as our theme around sustainability, as we kind of launch our academy brand. And I'm getting to the parts with the students, really trying to improve our processes and our procedures that we have in place on campus. So it's easy for teachers to know what they need to do when they're in data teams, and when they're looking at student work, what to pull from that. Where do we get data to look and see what we really need to focus on at this time? And we're giving some feedback at principals meetings too, to say, at the state level, at the complex level, district level, these are some things that would help us be able to focus in more on our students, or fine tune some processes, so we're not doing extra things that maybe aren't having as high impact as we would like. I think we did talk in SCC that we've added on another math line to try and make our class sizes in math smaller and provide some additional support in math as we start increasing our number sense with students and their just confidence in working with numbers and doing math. There's 2 classes that kids need in math to graduate, and then they get to pick their third one. And for some kids coming into high school, they really need kind of that gap year just to build, especially after trying to do math online. Last year, there were some difficulties with that. And so an already difficult subject became even more difficult because you're trying to move on now to these next levels of math and you're still missing some of the foundational pieces. So we're working on what can we put in place to help kind of, give kids additional information at a quicker pace. Is it that we have to have some type of intervention classes for the kids as well? Do we need to just put some additional pieces in place in classes, or will having the smaller classes help because they can get more individualized support? So that's one area we're looking at next year as well. The data is definitely showing that we still need school-wide to improve some of our math skills and strategies for students, and how can we incorporate that into other classes so it's more meaningful for them. And then there was a group of teachers that had an opportunity to go to Waikea High School, and they've been in academy school for many, many years, longer than the current sitting principal has been there. And so we were able to ask some questions and get some information and kind of see what they had in place. And one thing that we saw is we really need to step up our support that we have for our incoming freshmen and being more intentional in every class that our freshmen have in giving the same message. Also providing more, being more timely with data. We've had freshmen, there doesn't seem to be much of a gray area. They're either doing pretty well or they're failing a lot of classes. And so, that transition during that freshman time is really tough. So part of the teams that are meeting the end of this school year and in summer are going to be working at how can we put additional supports in place, especially in that freshman year. But then also just, okay, if we start that in the freshman year, how do we build throughout all of the years to support our students across the board, and also incorporate these SEL pieces throughout the day, not just utilize them in homeroom at the beginning of the of each day. Really trying to help kids see that they can be empowered. The PLO sessions that we have in place, students are starting to advocate for themselves that they need that personal learning or personalized learning opportunity time, and they're asking teachers to sign them up for particular times. We're also starting to utilize that time for kids that are doing well in classes and have some additional opportunities available for them. So we're looking to fine tune that a bit, really personalize it next year more, but use that time as well to empower students and help them realize that they really can, get them more involved in knowing where they stand and what they need to do to improve, kind of coming up with their own plans and knowing where they stand with their own data. And that does mean, increasing tier 1 supports. We're looking at some training in differentiation and small group instruction to kind of help with some of those pieces as well. We're fortunate in becoming an academy school, and also some opportunities that are being given to the elementary and middle school that we can tag on to have some people who are helping us with our processes and procedures moving forward into next year. So there's several people that are going to be involved in some additional training in this last quarter of school before we have these meetings during the summer as well to do some planning. The piece that we really need to gather some data on is just our communication with families and how that's going. It's one reason I'd really like to hear from families on that survey, because I feel like we're doing a lot more communicating, especially through our social media. Brenda's been awesome with just, anything that comes out, it's immediate. Chris will send things out through school messenger and she'll get it out. Brenda will get it out on social media. And a lot of families have said they want text, but we've got to really look at the numbers because families have to sign up for text, and I don't know that we've gotten a lot more, so we haven't been able to rely on that text messaging as much yet. So a lot of things have still been through email. So just looking at how can we still increase communication so families don't see that call from Hawaii Department of Education and just delete it or not listen to the message or think that it's about attendance or something like that. We really, want to make sure that what we're sending out is meaningful, and so that families know when they see that number, they really want to listen to it because there's information on the other side that they would benefit from knowing. And then even through emails and texts that we're doing on the classroom level, are they finding that that they have enough resources at their tips, including emails and texts from teachers, to know how their child's doing? I have talked to several parents lately who have said they use Infinite Campus. They check weekly how their child's doing and really stay on them when they don't see that those grades are kind of up to par, they're missing assignments. So that's encouraging to know. But those are the kids that are doing well. And so the ones that aren't having as much success, how can we reach those families? I know everybody's busy, just like we are at school. Families are working until all hours of the night. I know that when I reach families about a potential close contact and tell them I don't care what time it is, call me, I'll get calls at 10 o'clock at night and the parents just getting home. So, what can we do on the school end to provide more tutoring, which Jessica actually just brought up today, and some students have been asking for, which is awesome. Or other types of things where we can help support them because we know families are busy and it's difficult for them to keep up with those pieces. We're trying to better our systems so that we can help provide that support quicker for the students. So while we've been able to meet several of these things and make some progress, there's still some things that we've received feedback on that we know we could do better. I'm feeling like we've got to talk with staff, but it's feeling like we need a Hanaho year. Like, okay, let's look at the stuff we did accomplish, but all these things we wanted to, let's fine tune them and let's Hanaho, let's do it again and do it better and improve upon it this year with hopefully more time and more students being in school the majority of the time as well. And then finally, we will begin, continue working next year to build our whole school to be on that academy school track, to become a certified academy school, and continue just creating more meaningful and relevant opportunities for our students so that they feel that education is important, being in high school is fun, and it's a place they want to be. And so we're not having to drag them or give consequences for not coming. They're wanting to be there, they're wanting to stay late. And, hopefully as COVID lifts, then we have more families on campus, partners. Ross and I were just in a community school meeting the other day, and that is what I picture is that, our schools in Kohala, it would be difficult to know where the school ends and the community starts and vice versa because we're working together so seamlessly. And a lot of what we're putting together in our plan is to hopefully accomplish that and have not just us, but people in the community and additional mentors that are coming in and working with our kids and supporting our kids and kids that are going off campus to businesses in Waimea and down at the hotels and up in Kohala to get real world experience and help them get a leg up when they leave us and are trying to pursue their post-secondary plans. So that's where we currently are and what we're looking to do as we move forward. Does anybody have any questions about any of that? In our academic plan progress? Thank you for listening to all of that.
That was a great, thank you so much, Ms. Stafford, for presenting that. That's great. Looks great. Looks like we're moving into the right direction coming up for our academy school. So looks great. Moving over to announcements. HiPAG.
Yeah, I think with this one, my principal's message for February was just 10 things we love about our school. And we wanted to make sure that people knew there were still amazing things going on besides COVID. And so we have been partnering with HiPAG. They've been coming at least once a month, sometimes twice a month, to do special presentations during our personalized learning opportunity time. And so students who don't need that time to catch up on work are able to sign up and really gain some great knowledge around culture and local foods and ways that they can be used as medicines, local plants, that type of thing. I didn't get to go to the last one, but I know that we had a fairly large group, and one of our teachers even went and said that he learned a lot, and he's a science teacher. So I know that it was really enjoyable, and it's going to be continued. We have another one next week, Friday, and we're looking to continue partnering with them potentially through the summer and even offering some field trips end of the year if we can. So that's a partnership that we just see growing, as well as what I touched base on a little bit earlier about having the student focus groups. Ross is not only holding focus groups for, about an hour. Kids have a chance. There's some, questions that are sparking conversation during that 9-10 group and that 11-12 group to get feedback from them on their perception on how things are going at school and what they'd like to see. But he's also worked on a survey that he was able to share with some students that were in the library the other day, saying, you want to give some feedback when this survey comes out from me, please make sure you answer it. And I know our students just absolutely love and trust Ross, and so I'm going to make sure when we put it out that they know it's from him, so that they'll make sure that they answer it. Go ahead, Ross.
Thank you for just that thing. So the student focus is twofold. So I need information because there's a full service community schools grant coming out, and we need the information from the students in order to write for that grant. But the one thing that came to mind just as you speaking about the survey, Amy, is kind of what I was thinking. Depending on when they do that survey, I was thinking of making like a personalized video or recording that could be played before they take the survey, so they hear from my voice and me sharing how important it is for them to help me help. I'll just say me out, and then that way we can get more of them to fill out the survey and see where that goes, because in that survey it's going to ask them some pretty personal questions about how they feel about their relationships with teachers, how they feel about the relationship with their parents and guardians, and some other questions in there that is going to give us some really good information on how they're feeling. So I'm hoping that's okay with you, Amy, that I'm thinking maybe I'll record a personal message, maybe send it to Brenda can put it on YouTube or something, and then play it right before we want them to take the survey. And I'm hoping it shouldn't take too long. There's quite a bit of questions, but they should go through it pretty quickly because it's all multiple choice. Oh, it's all click answers, so nothing written down. For the student focus group, it's a little bit more personal because of they know that their answers will be taken down as notes, but their names won't be shared to keep it confidential. So the 9th and 10th graders were really appreciative of being able to share their answers, knowing that their names are not going to be mentioned when I give that information back to Amy and then when she shares it with the rest of the staff. So the 11th and 12th graders, I'm looking forward to that. And it's going to take place on March 11th, which is a Friday during PLO time. So you may have some juniors and seniors hear about it. And if they want to come, please let them come, because the more that we hear from them, the better. And then that information can be shared with not just Amy, but Amy can share that information with the rest of the staff. And career fair, Brenda, I'm handing out those flyers tomorrow to all the parents. Or not career fair, sorry, that's a different fair. But I'm handing out flyers for the pop-up spring fair. So look out for that, and hopefully more people will participate on this next pop-up fair.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thanks, Ross. And yeah, we do special announcements in the week. So if we do it on a day other than a Monday, we'll make sure that we have that special announcement shared with the kids before they take it. That will be great.
And then Ms. Stafford, you want to talk about PLOs?
The only thing I was sharing about PLOs was how we're having HiPAG come in during that PLO time, and then also the student focus groups to try and utilize that time to get feedback and provide some additional opportunities for students. The last piece, we just wanted to make families aware that we're having a career fair, and our students have actually worked really hard on this. So we have, I think, 27 presenters, all involved in different businesses that are going to be on, some will be on campus and some will be virtual. The students had a chance to pick 4 that they would like to go to, so they get to kind of design their schedule for the day. And it'll coincide with our homecoming assembly will be that morning. And then after the assembly and recess is going to be the whole career day in the afternoon. And so we're really excited about the work that Cicely and the CTE department, but mainly our student ambassadors have done to organize this. I mean, they've talked about the Aloha booth, and TJ, I know you've been involved because you were kind of recruited to help out as well. They've done a great job in recruiting our staff to help with, setting up the map where everybody's going to be. It's just been awesome. So another great opportunity, despite COVID, that our students have been able to organize. Yeah, go ahead, TJ.
Yeah, I think that the career fair kiddos to the ambassadors, I think they're the ones that's putting in all the work in kind of like doing them, and we're just helping them. So they're the ones that's organizing it and getting it good. So yeah. Hey Jess, Iris is not on. Do you want to kind of give us an update for STUCO for our upcoming homecoming stuff?
Sure. So homecoming, our homecoming week is February 28th to March 4th. And so we have those dress up days and everything and games during the week. But what we are super stoked about is on Friday, on top of having our homecoming assembly, our career fair, we're planning this homecoming under the stars night. So the kids get to get dressed up, semi-formal, and we are going to have performances, a sit-down dinner, not a full-on dance. They're going to get to watch things happen, not actually like get up and dance with each other or anything. We have student talent performing. We have Uwe and Cole are going to perform, and we have the homecoming court that's going to perform. And so it's kind of cool. And we got a whole bunch of COVID testing kits donated from the health center. So kids can either test right after school and then go home and get ready and then come back, or they can test when they come to the event. And hopefully they're all negative and they can come in. So yeah, and it's the hype around it has been like kind of exciting. Yeah. So what Brookie said, it's our first semi-formal event in 2 years. And so we allotted for 100 kids. And as of right now, tomorrow's our last day for selling tickets. We have 70, I think, that are gonna come. So yeah, and we're excited too. Like hopefully we'll have good news from the basketball team, and the boys will be super hyped, and it's kind of a celebration of them too, since they won their championship and then we're kind of on hiatus and now they get to play again. So yeah, really exciting. We're super excited, super stoked.
And again, I am so proud of the students because in their meeting, Iris called me while they were meeting and was asking a bunch of questions about, okay, we were thinking about this, and what if we do this? And they thought of everything ahead of time to make this as safe as possible so that it could happen. And really, like they said, have something that the kids can look forward to that kind of falls into those normal activities that they've been missing for the last 2 years. And so I'm really excited for them. They've done a lot of work already, and we did have to change the date, which I was honestly kind of happy for them because it gave them more time to plan. They had to push it back a little bit. But I think it worked out great because they really took on a lot, the students themselves, to be able to provide this for the student body. So great job.
Brookie and I were joking because we're like, it's just like we're planning another wedding. We got like a big tent for outside and tables and chairs and tablecloths and all that. So yeah, it's been actually kind of fun planning with the kids for this. So.
And you guys were just coming off of weddings in the summer. You guys were ready for it. You had all the tricks already.
Yeah, but Brookie says, and I agree, a lot less stressful.
Thank you so much for your leadership on that, and for helping the kids negotiate through all those details and helping them learn how to take a big event like that and do all of that planning. I mean, that's an excellent experience for them as well.
I'm sorry, Jess, where is the event going to be?
So we are getting a tent set up right outside my classroom, like where Adrian Cherry's room, that big grassy area there. So they'll come in from the parking lot side. We'll have the tables set up right in that hallway, in front of that hallway that's like Blaze's room and Sarah Schultz's room. And then they'll wait there. And then when they get the okay, they'll get to go in down the stairs, and then the tent will be right there for them to find their tables. So
like a grand entrance. Love it.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Have
Love
a
it.
spotlight on people as they come down in their fancy outfits. Beautiful.
I believe that concludes our agenda items. Kind of leave it open now at this point. If anybody have questions, comments, anything they want to kind of bring up or say.
Jess, I'm just excited for you guys. Just the fact that you're gonna put on this semi-formal stuff. Like, I'm stoked. Yeah, I got chicken skin knowing that you'll be able to have something in person. And the other thing is, while going to work, I think one of the things that gave me chicken skin is I've seen more students waiting outside to catch the bus, and just to be able to see that, just it's like, okay, we're getting back to a way to where we're normalcy as some point. But I'm excited for you folks, Jess. I mean, I'm just so glad to hear that. I mean, great job.
It's really awesome. Like, I think that we get so caught up in like what's happening at school that we forget like what the kids need. So like I've been choreographing the homecoming dance this year, and like having them together like dancing, you can just feel like the energy, like they're missing this, like they're missing, like, I don't know, being together and doing silly things and having
This is
fun.
that
and all
social
of that.
piece, right? They're just missing that social piece that they never had for a couple of years. Yeah. So I don't see anything else for anybody. Ms. Stafford, anything else you want to say before we close out?
No, that's it. Thank you, everybody, for your feedback.
So if you guys
and
don't know,
information.
tomorrow basketball boys are playing Pohoa tomorrow. It's a playoff game, so look for the links. Hope you all can join us and support our Cowboys. Yep. If not, have a great evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm sorry. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting, please.
I move to adjourn.
Jess, I need anybody
I second.
Thank you, Ross. Moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. Thank you. Meeting's adjourned, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you, everybody. See you next month.